What experiences have you ladies had with a partner refusing to go down on you? How did it make you feel? Were you able to get past it? I had a partner who was easily grossed out by everything, and had a very strong gag response. Like he would think about something he found gross and immediately gag or throw up. Well, he had this irrational fear that I would accidentally start peeing when he was going down on me, and that he would get it in his mouth. He said he didn't mind eating me out, it's not the taste or concept of eating out that bothered him. But it was hard for him to enjoy it cause he was always overthinking about that. Didn't know all this early into the relationship though. So the first time he ate me out, he went down and started licking. Then started looking really grossed out and gagging. I stopped him and was really concerned. I felt like it was my fault. I was young and most of my experiences at that point had been with guys who weren't mature enough to eat, so it was already hard for me to feel like I could course. That experience made it much harder because I'm always thinking about whether the guy actually wants to be doing it, instead of enjoying it and focusing on. So I wasn't able to until a few years later from going ate me out a few other times in that relationship. But I had to before he went down on me and then shower afterwards. And the experience wasn't enjoyable, worrying so much about what he thought. He absolutely loved though, it was like his favorite part about. So I gave him hundreds of, and if I made him finish and we didn't have, I would basically get nothing in return. Even though he would offer to eat me out, knowing I couldn't enjoy it anymore, so I would decline. None. If that's a boundary for them then that's fine, but we're simply incompatible and I'm moving on. My ex-husband was like that. But then he'd talk about wanting to do threesomes. So then he tried and I got to be told I guess it's not that a deal breaker for me now. It's part of I really enjoy. My current partner isn't the biggest on, which is honestly fine because I'm not either. He makes up for it other ways. However, I used to have this one ex that wouldn't say it, but I could tell he had a double standard to pleasure. With him was always bad. I tried to discuss it twice, nothing changed. So I left. I remember once asking him if he'd ever made a woman finish and he said no, and I was shocked he didn't see that as a problem. I dated a guy for 4 years who would give me 30 seconds of half-assed every few months and act like he was askif to women. He made me feel like it was selfish of me to want it, yet he never thought it was selfish of him to want head every single time we were together, no exceptions. I really internalized that I was selfish for wanting pleasure, and I haven't really ever felt comfortable letting anyone go down on me. My current boyfriend desperately wants to, but I have not let him do it yet because it feels shameful. He didn't want to attempt it. Then he wanted me to go down on him and I told him the exact same thing and he was furious. I've never liked giving head, but if a guy goes down on me I don't mind giving. It's funny because he called me every name in the book when I said no. When he said no I just said okay and moved on. It was very one-sided. I always went down without being asked. He never initiated, and if I asked he would begrudgingly do so, sometimes. No, we couldn't get past it because it was just another indicator of his selfish personality. I broke up with him after 2 years and didn't realize how lazy he was sexually until I started dating casually. I refuse to go down on them until they go first, since there's a bit of a stereotype of men not reciprocating. If they don't, neither do I, and odds are I won't see them again. I've never been with a guy that's actually good at it, so I don't even like it. They all want to hard AF and rub their hair around. It's just not enjoyable, so now I specifically seek partners that don't want to do, like either one of us. I stopped dating him. If you want head, you give head too. I don't need a vagiphobe in my life. As a butch lesbian, sometimes when dating feminine women, they expect me to do all the work. I also want to feel wanted. I prefer to be the dominant one most of the time, but sometimes I also want her to go down on me. A different POV, I actually don't like receiving it, and most men I've dated have been way too relieved/grateful. It really makes me wonder what lovers they've been for the majority of people, and it turns me off, anyway. Always awful in bed, I'd get more excitement a dry broom handle, rolling eyes face. I stopped giving BC, they stopped giving. Simple as that. It was my first partner. He'd eaten me out once before and it was okay, but I figured I was too nervous to truly enjoy it, so I asked him if we could try it again and he agreed. He gets down there and just stares. Lips are spread and it's kinda awkward, but I'm also excited trying SMTH, relatively new. I'm like I'd trying to encourage him, so I'm talking to him and still nothing. I'm like, hey, is everything okay? And he says yes. I'm like, okay, let's get on it then, and he just stares some more. I'm like, hey, I'm getting pretty cold down there, let's get going, and nothing. After a few more minutes I was like, yeah, this is awkward as all, and now my is freezing cold, and he comes back up and doesn't say anything, no apology. When he left he was like, you should shower equals. Showering is so nice equals, I love showering equals. And I was so upset. BC, he had dropped in unexpectedly and was upset I wasn't freshly showered. I always shower before hooking up, but again he just came by. Anyways, now I won't let anyone near my coochie. BC, it stresses me out. Like he wouldn't even tell me what was wrong, so I can only assume I was a bit musky, but like he'd given me head before, so it wasn't like he didn't know what it was like down there. Maybe it was just super, like, I don't know. I talked about it with a guy I dated briefly and he was like, yeah, I mean I will, but I'm not gonna spend like 20 minutes down, neutral face. I had a guy tell me he doesn't do that right before we hooked up, and so I just had us get dressed and told him to have a nice life. I never talked to him again. He would Snapchat me and text, but I just didn't respond. Life is way too short to have to convince a grown adult to have with you. Sure, I got past it. By leaving and finding someone who would. I bristle like a pincushion when I hear that a person who likes women won't lick some. Yes, there are women who don't want it, but the option should always be there. My boyfriend is obsessed with giving me and doesn't expect reciprocation. I wouldn't have it any other way. If a man doesn't love going down on me and do it often, I would not date him. One of the many reasons he's an ex and why I'm so self-conscious about that area, even though my following hookups have not complained, but I get insecure about it nonetheless. Pensive face. My husband and I are both kind of prudes in this area. Neither of us really enjoy performing on each other, so we took it out of our repertoire a while ago. We grate in general and are both satisfied. Lately I've been opening up about it more, so may see about putting it back on the table. But the bottom line is neither of us have to do anything we're not comfortable with. I tried for 3 years to get past it, and his poor excuse for not doing it. I had a bad experience in the it made me angry and resentful about everything in the relationship. Literally, everything. There were other issues, but this was the number one problem. Would never even try with me despite repeated conversations. Offers to wax/shave/shower before always, etc. Just acted like we never even talked about it. Ultimately this ended the relationship. This is a huge need for me. I enjoy giving and receiving and never felt pleasured the way I needed. Plus any other activity was really unsatisfying. I will never let this happen again. It's an issue of incompatibility. I've never come across this. It wouldn't be something I'd be okay with, DBH. My husband didn't go down on me the first, 4 years of our relationship. He was never sexually selfish, though, so it wasn't a deal breaker for me. He also never pushed for his own. I did it because I enjoy it. But I guess what I'm saying is never felt one-sided, even though he wouldn't go down. Then, when I married him, it was like a switch flipped, and let me tell you, it was worth the wait. I guess knowing that this was his kitty for the rest of his life was enough to make it irresistible, lol. I broke up with them. They also refused, and did a bunch of messed up things, but the elimination of all made it easy to decide to leave. I was briefly dating this guy. When we started fooling around, I noticed he had a small, like too small to get off with. I'm someone who gets off on mostly, but I can finish with as well. When I realized this is what he was working with, I asked if he would go down on me so that I could finish, then he could finish. He said he doesn't do that, and it's gross. I got up and started getting dressed. He asked what I was doing. I said I'm leaving. If I don't get off, neither does he. He started getting whiny and complaining, but I left anyway, cause him for wasting my time. He messaged me later, apologizing for treating me the way he did. I didn't answer, so he then sends more messages berating me and telling me I'm a for judging his small boy. Bye with your no skills, baby carrot having, smiley face. Run. That's something I've never had happen. I'm usually try to push them off. Lol, because they're over the top. That's going to be a bad relationship. None, because I wouldn't be with someone that refused to perform. Deal breaker. That's the nature way to handle it, honestly. Greater than. I remember once asking him if he'd ever made a woman finish, and he said no, and I was shocked he didn't see that as a yeah. Wow. Unbelievably selfish. I'm glad you're away from him.